Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to speak about a very interesting aspect of the relationship between time signature and subdivision. I'm going to use a composition that was taught to me by Guruji Carnatic sir as part of my conical studies because it illustrates a very interesting way in which time signature and subdivision can be inverted. So let's dive in. So what we can see here is the first part of this composition written out with no time signature. Now why? Because once I introduce the time signature, the bar line is going to show up wherever it has to show up, and I'm going to have to disrupt the representation of the sounds to accommodate the bar line. The first part of this composition is made up of 3 sentences, and they take a question and answer type form. The question is 2 16th notes followed by 16 30-second notes. The answer, din-ta, tunga, din-ta, tunga, din-ta, tunga. Now the logic of this first part is a reductive logic. So each part is going to reduce in value. My question is going to reduce by 1 16th note, and the third time it repeats, I lose all my 16th notes. The answer part is going to reduce a little bit differently. I'm going to treat the 2 8th notes as a prefix to the dotted 8th note. My prefix is going to half itself. Okay, so half of 2 8th notes is 1 8th note, and half of 1 8th note is a 16th note. For extra clarity, I'm just going to go through how I would think about this in conical numbers. I'm going to think about the question part of my sentence as the number 10. Then when I reduce from 10, I go down to 9 because I'm losing 1 16th note, and then down to 8. I'm going to think about my answer as a 4 plus 3 because remember I had 2 8th notes as a prefix to the dotted 8th note. Prefix is going to half itself, so half of 4 is 2, and half of 2 is 1. The second part of this composition, now we can see this also has 3 sentences. I've also written this out with no time signature. Each sentence is comprised of 3 parts. Then we have a separation, we have a gap. Now in conical terms, I would think of this as 3 10s. Now I'm going to think of the 8th note rest as a gap of 2 16th notes. This part follows the same reductive logic. Now my 10 is going to turn into a 9 by losing the dot for my dotted 8th note. And then I get 3 9s, my gap, and for the last part, an 8. Okay, so now let's write this thing out in 5/8 with time signature and bar lines. Here we have it written out, and we'll go over the parts just so you see. So the question part, we can see here clearly 2 16th notes and our 32nd notes. Our answer, and here we can see the bar line disturbed me a little bit, so I had to split an 8th note into 2 16th notes. Our second question, answer, third question, answer, red line for the second part. Now we have the first part of the first sentence, our 10, gap, our 9, gap, and our 8. Now is where this starts to get interesting. What happens when I invert the time signature, right? My time signature was a 5, I had 5 8s, and my subdivision was a square subdivision, so 16th notes, which I'm going to think about as 4, because generally we think of 4 16th notes per quarter, 1:4 ratio. So I'm going to think of that as a square or a 4 subdivision. So I had 5 as time meter and 4 as subdivision. What happens when I do this? Okay, looks beautiful. This now is how our question looks like. This is how our answer looks like. Our second question, our second answer, which is a little bit more aesthetic, our third question and answer. Second part, our 10, rest, 9, rest, and 8. Now, what happens when I try and place these 2 perspectives one on top of the other? What I discovered is that actually causes just the time signature to be scaled down by half, and I can squarely place these on top of the other. What my 5 8 notes is represented this way. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. And my quintuplets this way. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. They're actually just a scaled down version of themselves. So I have 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5 1. And when I do that, my result is this. Now, I think the question arises is, why on earth should a human being do this? What value does it give me as a musician except for just a headache, solving a puzzle, or satisfying curiosity? I put forward the claim that it has value, and this is why. Let's imagine here is a museum with a work of art, beautifully painted. Now let's imagine here is me. Let's say that I'm 10 years old and I go into the museum and I see this piece of art. Beautiful. Let's fast forward. Now I walk in, 37 years old, see the same work of art. My 10-year-old self can only see things through the eyes of a 10-year-old boy. My 37-year-old self probably has a recollection of what it was like to see things as a 10-year-old. What if I could be both of them at the same time? And what if I could also be the painting? What if the painting, in this case, that's just the piece without a time signature? Rhythm allows me to be my 10-year-old self, my 37-year-old self, and the painting all at once. That's one of those places where music is as close to magic as you can get. So in the video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to recite this in konakol once, clapping the 5/8, a second time tapping the 4/4 quintuplets with my foot, and the third time doing everything together. Taritana kita taga taga tari kita taga tatum 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 tak tatum tadingina tum tak tatum tadingina tum tak tatum tadingina tum tatum tadikita tum tatum tadingina tum tatum tadikita tum tatum tadikita tum tatum tadikita tum tatum tadikita tum ta.